Everybody, my name's Aaron. I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Positive by Negative, where we're turning pain into power and power into purpose and alchemizing that dark spiritual coal into shiny bright diamonds that we can use for our growth and development in this big crazy world of ours. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. It's good to see you. I hope you hear something that resonates here with you. And if you do, I'd love it if you give me a subscribe or a like. And if not, no worries. We can always be some friends in some other aspect of life. And if you're returning, great to see you too. I'm glad to see you back. And I hope that you hear something here today that kind of strikes a chord with you. And if you do, let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear, where you're coming from, for one thing. It's always amazing to me to see, the amount of different places people come from, on my channel. And then, tell me how it resonates with you. I'd love to hear, how we're connecting here and what it is we're doing. And so, today I come as a bearer of good news. I'd really like everybody to know that you are, in fact, the center of the universe, just like everyone else, and if we think of it that way, if you think of human consciousness, of humanity as being sort of in a form of a sphere or a ball, or a planet even, we're on one of those, and that's spherical, so kind of look at it that way. But, if you think of a sphere, it's got all these points all around it, there's points all over it, and none of them are the center. And yet somehow with that kind of leaves it open for absolutely every point on a sphere to be a center. And so it is with us, with humanity and our consciousness and the way we interact with each other, is that, if you really think about it, not one of us is the center of the universe, but all of us sort of are. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get across today, is that, there are no ordinary people in the world. There's no person on earth who's, just like a cookie cutter copy of anybody else. Every person, all 8 billion or so of us, every one of us is completely different and unique person with completely different, unique set of experiences, different values, our different plans for our lives, our different perspectives and points of view. And that's really amazing if you think about it. I mean, you would think that with that many people being basically in one place at the same time, there'd be kind of a melding together, and that it would kind of all be sort of uniform at some point, but it's really not. No matter who you talk to, there's nobody out there that doesn't have a perspective. There's nobody that doesn't have, something that they hold dear, that they've learned, that they've experienced. And really, and that's what it's all about, and the beautiful part about that is, because of that, everybody can make, a very valuable and indispensable contribution to all this. If you think of cells in a body, that's kind of what we are. I was kind of think of humanity as being like one big organism, and each one of us is like a separate cell in that organism. So while we all kind of do come together to make up this one big organism, we all have a very specific job and function, and the organism can't really function without, if any one of us are missing. So the cohesiveness of humanity really depends on each one of us showing up as an individual, who makes a contribution toward that. And so, it's really easy to also to think of other people, as just kind of blending in the background, or just kind of other, maybe in other countries or other cultures and stuff, they all kind of, are kind of made to feel like they all run together. But even in those situations, each one of those people is a separate, unique individual that has, a separate family and upbringing and, things they love, things they don't like, and stuff like that. And so, to really embrace that is amazing. If you think of the stars in the sky, if you look at the night sky, there's really no center of the sky either. And yet there's, thousands of stars that we can see. And not one of them needs permission to shine at its brightest, for one thing. They all just do. But at the same time, none of them outshine each other either. They all have an equal opportunity to shine and be important and be the beautiful individual that they are, just by being themselves. And and so it is with us. And I think in the old way of doing things, it was kind of conditioned into us that we were, individually all part of the machine. We were sort of an individual cog in the machine. And I think that what we're realizing more and more as we get into the new earth and the new human dynamic is that we are of ourselves each a fully capable, formed machine on our own. And so we don't necessarily have to feel like we mesh into anything else. We can stand on our own and yet still be very valuable to our society and to our communities. And and really be able to shine, at our full brightness without having to feel bad or having to feel like we have to pull it back, or like constrict ourselves in any way to make other people feel comfortable, or to make it feel like we fit in, because really that's not what we're here to do. Every one of us, and I've said this before, every one of us came here in service of our soul growth. And not our human. And so what that means is that we came here before we came here to Earth, before we incarnated here, we had a plan as a soul, as a spirit to grow and to learn and to have these experiences. And to do that, we had to come up with a kind of an itinerary of things that we'd like to do and learn. But unfortunately, we get here and society tells us, well, maybe that's not for you, or maybe that's not, the kind of thing you should do, or maybe we don't dream that big and stuff. And so we kind of, through basically no fault of our own, end up dimming our light in order to accommodate what has been up to this point, considered like normal behavior in society. And, I think what we're learning is that really normal is just a setting on a dryer. I mean, it doesn't really exist in life when you really get down to it. And everybody, I think, is starting to feel a lot safer to come out and to really fully shine their light and be the beautiful, individual, amazing, soul that they are here, interacting with all the other beautiful, amazing, souls that are around. And so, I really want everybody to internalize that it's okay to be you. It's really, it's not just okay. It's like, if you're not being you, you're really depriving the world of the experience of you. But there may be something that you bring to the world that people desperately need. There may be somebody whose prayer you answer just by showing up and being you and, providing your individual, unreplicatable contribution to the world. So because we're all so dependent on each other, and this is all a big network, and as far as I'm concerned, there's, I think Dolores Cannon said that, there's a possibility that in this world, there may be people who are what she called backdrop people, sort of non-player characters that just, kind of fill out space. And I have a really hard time believing that. I really believe that every individual on this earth has a soul and has a very distinct mission and a very distinct contribution that they can make, to this collective that we call humanity. So, my challenge to myself, and really since I kind of started this YouTube channel, and my challenge to you is to find where you're dimming your light, find where you're giving your power away, find where you're in any way, compromising who you are in order to make other people or society or anybody else comfortable. Find those places where you're not being you. And let's kind of find ways to start, taking those masks off and, doing away with those personas and really coming out into the world as our authentic expression of who we are. And it may feel a little weird at first. It really does. I think that we're so used to having this kind of society friendly, mask that we wear, and that it's really kind of intimidating and scary to even think about going out into the world at large as the person we really are. But the more of us that start to do it, the more of us that kind of come out of our shell and really shine our brightest, start to show other people that it's okay. And before you know it, it's going to be the norm for everybody to be in the world doing what they align with, what, makes their heart sing and makes their soul feel like it's doing its work. And before you know it, things are going to be a lot better just in general, just for everybody, because when we're operating from that place of authenticity and alignment, we're happy, we're kind, we're supportive of each other, and it's just a really amazing experience. So anyway, that's really all I had today. I just wanted to come on here and remind you that you are a star and it's okay to shine, and you are absolutely the center of the universe, but so is everybody else. So we need to appreciate all the stars that are around us. Everyone around us is their own individual star. And, it's time that we recognize that and recognize that there are no backdrop people, that everybody is amazing. Everybody is special. Everybody is loved. And everybody has room and the right to shine as brightly as they possibly can. So anyway, that's all I have for today. And I hope everybody has another happy 24, and I will see you next time. Thanks.